Hello, Mike Kako. Thank you for joining us. We're just getting started.
Hey, sorry, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for jumping in here. As you know,
I think you're
it's a
live right now.
perfect time and the weather for. Yeah, it's a perfect time and weather to greet us for some tech initiatives. So, don't have my presentation. It's on my laptop, and I'm quickly hurrying to try to get to a location in which we can upload something for a presentation. But if not, you know very well, very much what I do, and I'm Andrew Aki. I'm founder and creator of an NFT project. It's actually Hawaii's first NFT project, generative NFT project called the Poi Puppy Colony. And I'm sorry, I don't have any visuals to be sharing with anybody here. But NFTs are non-fungible tokens, and I first came across NFTs in 2014, actually, when I was on a tech development project in China, developing a learning management system. And we decided that the principal architecture for this learning management system that we were building, we wanted it to be structured with blockchain technology. So utilizing SHA-256 hashing algorithms. And I know like a lot of the explanation for these types of things is a lot more complicated without the visuals. And I can't apologize enough for the situation that's happening right now. But so we've been in development of that blockchain learning management system for the past so many years before we even knew what NFTs were. And we just understood the standard of applying and the protocol applying SHA-256, which is a hashing algorithm. So if anybody is familiar with using hashtags, it's pretty much the same thing in which you're utilizing those protocols, cryptography protocols, in order to on the web and specifically over certain platforms. And actually, that's how NFTs respond. Coming out of the chain, that's what that's essentially where NFTs led us. So fast forward to about last year, I came across a derivatives art scene, more specifically with this blockchain called Flow Blockchain, and they were delivering a project in a program for NBA Top Shot, and it had everything to do with these NFTs that were for the NBA, the National Basketball Association. And the light bulb went off that everything that I was developing from 2014 had everything to do with exactly what was developing in the more collectibles, novelty, digital art space. And so at that point, we took it upon ourselves as a team to dive deep into this whole scene of what now we can perceive as being a year in is essentially the art renaissance of our time. And so to equate it with everything that's happening with what happened in the past, what's happening essentially your modern day, not only art renaissance, but your .com bubble yet again. And it just so happens it has to do with the technology of blockchain. And yeah, so we created the Point Puppies Colony because what we discovered with what was happening in the space as we leaned into this, and you're gonna, if anybody is familiar with NFTs, you're gonna come across with some specific gold standard projects that occurred this year, and one of the big names that you could probably Google yourself if you want the visuals, one that's called Bored Apes Yacht Club. And in fact, some high profile individuals are all collectors of this specific NFT. So Steph Curry has one, Post Malone has a Bored Apes Yacht Club NFT. And essentially what these have become are keys to closed economies. And so if I can give you a real world Hawaii example, these Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs, they dropped back in June for 0.08 Ethereum, which is the US dollar equivalent of $400. Fast forward to today, you cannot get these NFTs for less than 50 Ethereum, and Ethereum is going for $4,500 right now. So if you do the math, you're not going to be able to get one of these NFTs for less than $250,000 for something that was being sold back in June for $400. And so so we saw these things occurring, and going back to the real world Hawaii example that I was going to apply to this. And so an individual over here, and actually there's a few people who actually are from Hawaii, they're Kama'aina, and they hold tokens for Bored Apes Yacht Club. And so what I mean by them becoming keys to a closed economy is that the real world example out of here in Hawaii is one of the gentlemen who owns these Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs. He owns a scenic tour Cessna company. And so the scenic tour Cessna company, he put it out to the entire yacht club that whoever holds one of these NFTs would have the privilege or the ability to be able to present that NFT to him and get free Cessna rides around the island. And so that's exactly what NFTs are able. One of the utilities that NFTs are able to provide us today, and so much more. The space has gone so deep, and it's for example, Visa has bought into NFTs as well, and they have established it as an asset class. And yeah, there's just so many different things. And like I said, I'm so sorry I don't have my presentation with me, and I'm currently driving, trying to get somewhere that I could present this. But Zer, you want to interject here? And I know it's just a little bit hard, and not being able to roll off, somebody over there, being able to read questions and everything. But you want to kind of talk about what exactly you're doing as well, your NFTs?
Sure, I'll jump in. Hi, folks. Yeah, because of the inclement weather, we're running into all kinds of technical difficulties here. So, while Andrew kind of situates himself in some place where he can access some good Wi-Fi. This again is gonna be it's a pretty technical discussion, right? We're talking about blockchain tech, and blockchain tech is in the relative scope of things, it's fairly new, right? Back in 2007, this technology in the form of Bitcoin kind of emerged, and the lucky few who had access to Bitcoin at that time we're basically purchasing Bitcoin, using it as like a cryptocurrency, right? A decentralized currency to get away from banks. Um, it was kind of a nerdy thing to kind of get into back then, but you could literally for like $10 get yourself thousands and thousands and thousands of Bitcoin back in 2007, right? And today, Bitcoin just recently hit a high of over $60,000 per Bitcoin. So I mean, if you had thousands back then, right? They literally had like I can't say really overnight millionaires, but they had folks going from nothing to billionaires in just a matter of years. And so the technology from an investor standpoint has been insanely volatile, but also incredibly beneficial to those who kind of took the leap. So Bitcoin technology, the blockchain, um, blockchain technology is it basically got its popularity because it promoted itself as a more secure um, kind of platform that provided an unhackable kind of software and an unhackable kind of platform for many tech ventures. Since then, we've kind of figured out that hackers have managed to figure ways to kind of exploit the blockchain system, but as time progressed and to this day, we have so many technicians working on the technology that it's just amazing what you can do, right? And we hear folks like Mark Zuckerberg um, eyeing this thing called the metaverse, right? And the metaverse is basically this digital universe um, built on blockchain technology, and he sees this area as the future, and it's a very unexplored, in relative terms, um, a place where you can virtually achieve anything, right? And that's basically taking the technology of the internet and and projecting that far into the future with a far more secure platform. Um, it's secure in terms of connectability, secure in terms of being able to do things without fear of anyone getting into your private affairs, hacking your accounts, doing things, right? And so this technology, while it's relatively new and it's seemingly limitless in the things that can be applied to it, Andrew and many other entrepreneurs have eyed this technology for its use in non-fungible token NFTs, right? Is what they call them, and this NFT space is really taking the form of digital art, right? So artists have really capitalized on the ability to turn these tokens, um, which are minted on the blockchain, right? They're permanent, and what artists like to, and what artists, I guess, utilize it, and what investors like to invest in is the fact that they pretty much own this piece. I mean, to some it might be silly, um, because you could download an image, like say Andrew's Andrew's pup image right there, his little NFT image of that little illustrated dog. Anybody can really just right click and download it or screen grab it and take that picture. But um, there's only one original unique coded image for that on the blockchain, and it's stamped, it's minted on top of that one block. And some people like the idea that they can just own like the complete rights to it on the blockchain itself, right? And so artists have kind of been able to get unique, one of a kind um, versions of these kinds of arts and mint it to the blockchain itself. And the space for artists, investors has really blown up. And as Andrew was talking about, he uh, one of these arts collection, the Bored Apes project, right? The Bored Apes Yacht Club. Um, they were selling all these 10,000 computer generated unique NFTs, all these various different versions of this one kind of ape image, and people would invest in it. Just not too long ago, like the opening price was at roughly $400 worth of Ethereum. Ethereum has like taken off. It reached heights of nearly $5,000 a piece, right? So, as Andrew was saying, you can't buy any one of these to this day for like less than $200,000. And what it does for people is they create these unique communities around the world, right? So if you are part of that unique club who was able to purchase that ape, you get access to all these things that these guys now afford. So like Andrew was saying, the local guy who has his own NFT, if you purchase and you're into his cool club, right, and you purchase his NFT, he'll hook you up with like access to his Cessna and flights and things like that. So it's a space for people to monetize. It's a space for people to build brands, and it's a crazy place in the world of technology, and the technology itself, because of its allure for investment, right? And this is literally making people like millionaires overnight. And if you're lucky enough to invest money in certain coins, you can get there. And an example of that would be like the Shiba Inu coins and the Doge coins, right? So people who are lucky enough to jump in before the investors flooded not too long ago were putting in $10 one month and cashing out like half a year later with tens of thousands of dollars, right? But the market is volatile, and but below all that market, that volatility is the technology itself, and that potentially poses limitless access, limitless possibilities for people in software development and brand building. How's that, Andrew?
Like we go the road over here, and I'm having to turn around because I see exactly what's going on. We have down power lines in the middle of the road, so they're turning everybody around over here. Yeah, it's just such a disaster right now. But yeah, but yeah, it's unfortunate, and I know like this is probably the worst subject to have just on the fly and without a presentation. But I can't stress enough about the blockchain development, and even the vocabulary in this space is still very much unsettled. You're still coining different words for the specific. It's a total revolution, as it is a social revolution as well, that's happening in this space. And the reason why we saw this opportunity to jump in was, and I'm going through another dead spot right here, so I'm going to lose you folks. Was because we often see these technologies, occur in the world, and it's that Kanaka of technologies as the rest of the the more gung ho world that it is. As people who are in technology to get in there, and figure things out as everything is so new in the space and developing, and represent Hawaii as well, and be part of the conversation, and actually be able to bring others that we know who are around us into this space as well, and then catch them up, or to where exactly we've been or where we came from and where we believe this could be going for. for the Lāhui, or as a megaphone for Hawaii in general. As often as we see that, for example, like this Red Hill water situation, how many people were very much aware of the damage that was happening, but it's just because we're perceived to so many people as this small voice amongst the rest of the world. Nobody takes it into consideration the crises that we communicate to people. And and this is just what was another example of something that presented itself as an opportunity, or it could also be a threat if we're not up to speed or up to the times with adopting this. And one prime example that relates directly to this NFT space is if you go on Twitter and you type in hashtag, and this was in one of my slides. If you type in hashtag free Hawaii and a free Hawaii photo, you're gonna come up with this artist who actually didn't know what the damage she could potentially have been doing. And what she was doing is she was a French-Canadian artist, a photographer. And she took a picture of the Ho'omalahi'a mountains, that one iconic road that a lot of influencers and onlookers of those influencers are trying to replicate. But what they don't realize is the type of damage, of course, not only to the botanical gardens, but like, say, for example, more people start to come over here and, they come with that presence of being like maha'oi, or, they're overstepping their bounds, and they, trek some parasitic fungi into the ohia forest, and so there's a ton of situations that could occur and come out of this metaverse space that could be an opportunity for good, for change, but it could be also detrimental as well. And if we aren't part of that conversation, then we're going to be subject to where we often are, and that's being overwhelmed by globalization and acculturation. And so that was probably some of the major reasons why we jumped headfirst into this space. And going back to the beginning of this conversation, like I said, one of the major reasons why I jumped into this space personally was because we work in this tech development space, and I was designing a learning management system, and the principal architecture was blockchain, and then how much that blockchain architecture would actually be able to provide, for tracking in Hawaii, with a decentralized ledger, that everybody, a decentralized public ledger that we can actually follow and trace and track and have that ability to document and verify and authenticate. We can people to have a more true heading as a Lāhui. But did you want to continue with something, Zuri?
Andrew, for those in attendance, how about could you share more about your PUPS project and the kind of effort that goes into it, and if people are interested in creating their own NFTs, what should they be aware of?
NFTs are.
Oh, he doesn't want to give away his trade secrets, everyone. Oh. Hey, Andrew, can you hear us? Are you still tuned in? We can't hear you, just in case. Okay, I guess I'll take over a little bit until Andrew can kind of poke through that. So Andrew, oh, okay, I see him in chat. Okay, so I'm not gonna do him any justice here, but I'll try. I'll try my best. So Andrew is he's really the first guy I know of in Hawaii who was actually spearheaded a group to get into this NFT art space, right? And he's created what I believe are called the poi pups, right? And you can see another example of his poi pup NFT um, over here as his icon. And so, hey, we can hear you. Go for it. Yep, go for it. Hello, Andrew.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we
Sorry.
got you. We got you.
Jeez.
This is such a mess.
No,
So,
we got you.
Yeah. Did
can
you
you speak again? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good. So, yeah, the poi pups are
created? They're
NFTs created on the Ethereum blockchain.
And so the Ethereum blockchain is actually the most popular blockchain for creating NFTs. They weren't the first. Bitcoin actually had the protocol. They didn't extend themselves deeper into the NFT non-fungible token arena as Ethereum did, because structured themselves uh, a money transfer system as opposed to Ethereum. Ethereum is more, they really structured themselves around the smart contracts. And so what the poi pups actually are in what is a standard called ERC 721. And then so that determines and dictates that they are non-fungible tokens. When you look at an Ethereum coin or like a Bitcoin or like a Dogecoin, you could perceive a lot of those coins to be what are called a different standard, which is ERC 20, and those are actually fungible tokens. So ERC, the ERC standard primarily pertains to Ethereum blockchain, but from the technical perspective, that's exactly what the poi puppies were. So they're in ERC 721, and they were randomly generated. And so we came from programming backgrounds, not in Solidity. So when we started, Solidity is the programming language of Ethereum, by the way. So when we started, some of us had backgrounds in C++, and others had JavaScript backgrounds, and some of us had Python, and there was zero information out there, very limited as to how to code in Solidity, which is you writing smart contract functions and programming language on the Ethereum blockchain. And so that programming language is specific to Ethereum blockchain. And so we kind of just dove in and just tinkered with it ourselves, some time to develop, and actually, you know, prior to this, I didn't have any social media. And now I got a Twitter, which I could consider my first social media. I do have a Discord server, but like we didn't realize how much we actually had to communicate in this space. But you know, of course, like this, right? When you're, because the perception before was, as it is compared to now, the market right now is extremely saturated. In the past, when we dropped the poi pups, a lot of collectors, you know, we understood, we knew which projects were dropping weekly. There's about 4 projects maybe prior to June that would drop a week per week, and we could anticipate, you know, those the build up to those projects and then investing in them. And so to put things further into perspective, like the Bored Apes Yacht Club, which is now the gold standard, right? It took them about 12 hours to sell out, you know. And then if projects that are, you know, considered blue chip or projected to be blue chip drop today, those projects have to go to what's called a whitelist. And so what they would do is they would put you into a whitelist setting within the smart contract, and so that your you're pre dropped into being being accepted to accept one of these tokens prior to it going out to the general public. You're privy to a pre-sale is what's happening. So the poi pops, I would consider as something of the old guard, around the time of Bored Apes Yacht Club and and other projects such as Cool Cats, because we dropped right around the time that Cool Cats actually dropped, which is also considered blue chip NFT. And in fact, within the Poi Puppy project, that was pretty interesting, because the way that we did it during that time, it was pretty cool. What we did was the actual first NFT within that project, and you can see it around my PFP, which is my profile pic of the Shiba dog in the spacesuit, was that Le, and it was a Le Haku Aloha is what we created. And so we actually created, our artist is his Zaza the Blurry Box. He's a Maui boy actually, and he spent 15 hours straight drawing that lei. So if you guys ever go to our site, you can see a time capture of him creating that lei. And that lei we actually was technically our first NFT, and we dropped that as an aloha to people in the space. And we allocated that specific NFT to the Make-A-Wish Hawaii Foundation. And so all proceeds from that NFT lei that people could purchase for 0.005 Ethereum, which at the time was about $10. And I think right now it's about that price too, minus what we call gas fees. And that's a whole nother conversation. The lei we dropped was our first, and then a week or two after that, we dropped the poi puppies. And so we did a whole welcoming of us into this space, Hawaiian style with aloha, and then we dropped the poi puppies, and they didn't do very well. we didn't know how to market ourselves very well. We underestimated how much we'd have to market into social media marketing. It's a lot more complicated than you think. And in fact, since then, because like I said, Solidity developers, and we taught ourselves how to do Solidity during that time. And right after that drop of the poi pups, maybe like a few weeks, maybe a month after, is when the space really opened up. And then that's when we start to see what exactly we're kind of seeing today, where there's hundreds of drops today. Every day there's an NFT, hundreds of them dropping, as opposed to when we dropped the pups, there's about 4 a week. And it was just a matter of getting your name out to all of the collectors in the space, and which I believe we failed at. But yeah, so fast forward today, it's the Poi Pups is an older project. It's a lot different from where the space has gone today, and it's changing rapidly. It's such an accelerated and fast moving space, and that's just technology, especially when you're in what we could probably perceive as a revolutionary technology, or you maybe even want to call this a market bubble. It could potentially be that. This is exactly what happened during the .com bubble as well. You could see people becoming millionaires, people 10,000xing their money overnight, and that's exactly what's happening here. And so yeah, we're still early. We're still very much early in terms of the where we are in terms of adopting NFTs. We're less than 25% adoption. And if you guys are familiar with like Aghazation's bell curve, right? It's when you consider that Aghazation's bell curve as it's structured towards what we call like the law of diffusion of innovation. Other people, if you read like Malcolm Gladwell's book, he talked about like the tipping point, but that had a lot to do with the law of diffusion of innovation. And so they would say at a 25% adoption rate is where your tipping point is. And actually right now we're getting pretty close to that 25%. And that's exactly when the market is just gonna open up, or we think it's gonna open up. And in fact, right now, we're actually in what we could consider a bear market. If anybody has been watching cryptocurrencies in the last few days, you probably saw Bitcoin's volatility, go from 60,000 down to, I think it's settling right now around 50,000, 45,000. So it's a major bear swing for Bitcoin, which is pretty interesting. But if you still look at Ethereum as compared to Bitcoin, Ethereum is still pretty stable. It's not doing too bad. It's strong because it didn't take the 20% hit that Bitcoin did. So yeah, so like there's a lot going on. I don't know what our time is looking at right now, and like I said, I can't apologize enough for what's happening with this weather and our presentation. But if you guys to onboard into this space, I would recommend that you do get Twitter, because that's, I know I hear this all the time, from people who have been in social media. Like I said, I haven't been in social media, so they say, who utilizes Twitter? Well, everybody in the crypto space definitely utilizes Twitter. Prior to it being Twitter, people were in Clubhouse during COVID. And then that's where, a lot of the conversations and the groups and whatnot of what we consider, like I said, there's a lot of unsettled vocabulary in this space, and, people call themselves OGs. The OGs in the space, were in Clubhouse at the time. And then now the conversations have moved over to Twitter, and then of course Discord. So download those two apps. I recommend if you are going to get into this space. And as it applies to, I know we should always be bringing this back, especially for this conversation, to the Lāhui and what we're doing in Hawaii. But I see some Discord groups of more Hawaii people, and in fact there's some. Like I said, there's two Bored Ape Hawaii people over here, really good people, and that I can connect you folks with them. And so if you join the Discord, my email is here. You can shoot me an email, and then I think together, I know this wasn't a great turn on, us having this conversation, but like, believe me, like we're so much more succinct and organized than we are experiencing today. But yeah, definitely get in touch with us so we can sit down, we can talk. And if you guys are creators in this space, maybe we can talk about assisting you with a project, because like I said, as we have to learn Solidity, it's so much easier today to with all the information that's out there, to create simple PFP projects, or if you have another idea that you want to create some sort of token that's going to do, provide a utility, whether it's like a fractionalization of a token, or you're creating what is very similar to like an ETF or an investment fund, like a DAO, what they call a decentralized autonomous organization. But there's so many of these different, different utilities that are spawning out of individual projects. And so, whether you just like art, as we did, like a fundraiser, because essentially that's exactly what these NFT projects are doing. They're on-ramping people through a crowdsourcing. And that's why if you see some of these projects drop, like the numbers are just astronomical about how much they are able to raise in a short period of time, just by dropping, a piece of artwork, or, having a clear, a white paper towards what exactly this project represents. So this is a perfect way to access funding, and then also who are garner the attention of people who would be interested in whatever project or initiative that you're trying to communicate. So this is a perfect space. I don't know, a CNHA provides a perfect opportunity for funding, but CNHA is one entity, right? And essentially we can perceive, this whole metaverse space of, creating NFT projects, or even creating, just token projects. It doesn't even have to be an NFT. It's just onboarding yourself into crypto and, starting maybe like an ERC20 token and just communicating what exactly it is that you're trying to do, and treating this as a crowdsourcing endeavor. So, yeah. So
Just like
we said a
lead
lot.
off of some of the stuff that you were saying, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
prompt you with some more questions. So for everyone out there, like another recap, one of the most important things that like Andrew was trying to say was that um, you're at the forefront of kind of like a brand new technology and a brand new direction that people are going in, and especially as like investors or artists, NFT space, the metaverse provides you with an opportunity, right, to monetize, to brand, and uh, there's no promises that you'll be a millionaire overnight selling your artwork like you see the pups on the screen right now. But there has been many artists who have been able to capitalize on this particular platform and in this particular technology, and to make it rich, or to um, fundraise enough for a specific cause, right? And Andrew also emphasized that you really need to get into the two spaces right now, are Twitter and Discord, and it's all about marketing your project. I mean, you can have an amazing project out there, and there are tons of amazing projects out there, but where they don't find successes in their shortcomings associated with their inability to really reach out to the rest of the world, and to sell the impetus behind their project. And there's just some crazy stuff out there. I mean, there's a guy who purchased an NFT for $500 million just because he could, right? So there's so much money being thrown around here, and then there's different echelons of social status within this entire community as well, right? So picking up certain kinds of NFT projects or getting on board certain NFTs um, also bring to you a certain status. So Andrew's also talking about Hawaii's opportunity, right? Kanaka Maoli opportunity to really get into the space, to flex our own intellectual property rights, and to get into this art space. We have so many artists, we have so many storytellers, right? So it's not just art, it's also stories. It's anything you can really imagine. I was recently just coming across articles on countries like China who are exploring blockchain tech and these spaces to harness automation in agriculture, things like that. So again, like this is at the tip of the spear, and it's a really high level tech discussion, and we apologize for that. Um, but Andrew, as like for people who are kind of teetering on the edge and trying to figure out, because this also is a really expensive endeavor to get into, right? Whether it's a hobby or you're trying to actually make a business out of it. It's also very expensive because, as Andrew kind of alluded to, there's a thing called gas fees, right? And this is basically the cost of minting something to the Ethereum blockchain, right? If it's not free,
Yeah.
you can't just pop up online and just start stamping
Yeah.
these things
And
as one of a kind, right? So
right.
go ahead, Andrew.
And yeah, sorry to interrupt you, sir, but yeah, and that's what we also mean by the evolution of this space as well. There's a lot going around in terms of people mentioning that it's not sustainable, it uses so much energy, but we don't know. It is true, it's definitely centered around it expending energy, but there's other lens that we can look at it. For example, Hawaii and Arizona are the two most sun producing states, and I feel like we don't capitalize on those types of things. Different renewable energies that we could be utilizing here in the islands. I'm not in favor of the windmills I live out on the shore of Oahu, and I'm not in favor of that, but there's other technologies that maybe, somewhere out in the ocean, we can put some, windmills that would be able to feed energy back into here. But definitely, sun is of abundance for here, for us in the islands. And waves, and there's different technologies, different industries that can spawn out of this, so that we can come up with a more sustainable approach to blockchain. And then that's from us, from our selves going towards blockchain. Blockchain itself, you already have blockchains, for example, like Ethereum blockchain, who are moving from a proof of work protocol, which is what Suri just mentioned in terms of gas fees and miners. The how people communicate exactly what proof of work algorithm is, protocol is that it's actually just like mining. Like somebody in a gold mine, you need to have people who are working on the consensus algorithms and the verification. So Ethereum is actually changing to proof of stake, within the first quarter of this coming year, and that should be able to sustain the platform, the blockchain in itself. So they're going to move away from the energy consuming protocol of proof of work, and that whole gas initiative should most likely go away. And that's what people are speculating. So, blockchain is changing in itself. It's becoming more sustainable, and then that's natural with these technologies, right? Anything in technology, it's just people are going to work these things until they're more efficient and they're more effective. And I think like here in Hawaii, we can meet these people there as well, as opposed to not being a part of these conversations. And I think like that's a major thing for us, is that we definitely need to partake more in these conversations that are happening around the world, because it's definitely a thing. Like the rest of the world is going to be able to move on. And if we're not over here, as Zuri mentioned as well, the metaverse, a lot of people have the misconception or misunderstanding that Facebook, which is now Meta, is the metaverse, and that's not a truth. And so actually what Facebook is creating is what we would call a world. So just like how SimCity, when we were younger, or if you want to think of like Farmville, or if you want to think of like Minecraft, we would look at those things as worlds within the metaverse. So Facebook becoming Meta is just creating a world within the metaverse. Metaverse is more encompassing of like the analogy would be, would you call Google the World Wide Web? And then would you call the World Wide Web the internet? You wouldn't do that. So like you wouldn't call Meta the metaverse, because the metaverse has so many more inclusive parts to it, and it comes from like culture, it comes from us as human beings, having an identity and then projecting it into this virtual or technical space, and then actually finding maybe that bridge between these virtual worlds and the real world. And I think that being able to do that, especially here in Hawaii, where we're really connected to the aina, we're really connected to the people, physical things, spiritual things, cognitive things, and we project our ideas, our mana'o, into the metaverse, as opposed to the metaverse dictating our way of life, as everything has so many times in our past. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, and I've probably got like 10 more minutes of this messy presentation, or if anybody's even listening.
There's a bunch of people listening, Andrew, and there's Darnell has asked, so have you seen many examples of projects or tokens being launched as more of a branding exercise? For example, several of consecutive tokens or projects under one umbrella, thinking creating market presence in a marketplace that might be fragmented and messy.
Yeah, like single projects creating multiple tokens. Is that what you're alluding to?
I think so.
Hello? I think we lost.
Darnell says, sure.
Wait, am I not seeing this stuff?
You see the chat?
The chat, yeah. I don't think it's populating for me. The last thing I see is my text. Man, I wish I could see what he wrote. Could you?
Yeah, basically
could you
focusing
repeat
on
that?
Andrew. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Basically focusing on branding exercises. You know, like have you seen many examples, or are there projects out there that are just kind of going through this and launching as more of a branding exercise than it is anything else?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of companies, especially, and I think there's like an unspoken eternal friction that's happening within the metaverse right now, and we see that with a lot of the main corporations, the Fortune 500 corporations coming into this space. For example, like Adidas partnered with Bored Apes Yacht Club, and they launched this huge hype commercial. If you look at Nike's SEC filings recently, they're changing so many things to be able to match exactly what is coming of this metaverse, because people can see how much money that it is actually and finances is flocking towards this space. If you look at if you take into consideration like the internet, we all think and know that the internet really started popping off around 1994, but in reality, the internet started about in the 1970s, and that's when it was spawned by Tim Berners-Lee and Vince Cerf, and it took that many years, like 15, 20 years, in order for it to just catch mainstream adoption. And if you kind of benchmark that against what's happening here in the metaverse and with blockchain technology, the adoption rate is so much more faster, because I think these people who are more mature investors, more mature participates, within the finance and investment space, they understand and immediately see the markers, and the market triggers that replicate something and put something even potentially bigger than what the internet was or is. And so they're seeing another potential for another advent of another internet is what we're seeing. I hope I answered the question.
So I think there's a lot of people interested out there in kind of getting started, and it seems like we have a lot of tech savvy folks who are probably already they know what you're talking about. They're following along toe to toe with you. But for those of in the audience out there who kind of want to get into the space, they may be an artist and they want to try to get into the space. And I have a screen share right now of the MetaMask wallet, right? Can you kind of guide people through like the foundation that they need to just begin their adventure in this?
And I forgot to touch up upon that as well. Just the onboarding into the space, and that's a major concern for us too. There's some regulations, some regulatory entities right now that are actually, suppressing Hawaii, and it's everybody in Hawaii. And so, the new board of DeFi that the government approved, that Congress approved of over here, they have that. I forget what it's that double funding act where you have to have, as much fiat in a reserve account to investment going into your cryptocurrencies, and so I think that's just an old act that they're applying to this crypto space too. So we're actually the only state that is not going to have access to Coinbase. Coinbase said, it's too much of a headache. for us to have to double, our holdings in a reserve account from already the account from the finances we already received. So we're being excluded from participating in probably what is the next biggest NFT crypto market space, and they're actually the biggest crypto platform that there is, and Hawaii won't be participating. So we won't have access to a whole marketplace because of that legislation here. And I think that's something, because we're not in the conversation once again, and we're not together on the same page of that conversation, to approach our Congress people and say, hey, this needs to change, or we're going to be missing out as individuals. Yeah, true. You may be saving us money too, but it's risk reward, and that has everything to do with money and finance, and what we want to be able to do with our money is, that's our decision to make. And so, if you are an artist, sorry, I know that was kind of long-winded, but if you are an artist, there's procedures, right? You download an Ethereum wallet, which is MetaMask. That's the most convenient over here in Hawaii. And then you're going to have to fund that MetaMask wallet, and that's your Ethereum wallet. And so that is pretty much essential to what Web3 is. And so MetaMask will be able to connect to, different DApp websites where, you can structure these websites, and then that's where your MetaMask wallet, which is your Ethereum blockchain wallet, will communicate with the marketplace, and it will communicate with your DApp website, which is your point of sale often when you're dropping an NFT. So there's a lot of information out there that you could even just YouTube to be able to onboard in space. But like I said, if not, then go ahead and contact me through email, and then I will show you how to get into Discord, and we can have deeper and extended conversations there, and it'll be so much more easy for me to pass you materials to onboard you in the space if you're just an artist. But if you're an artist, and a Hawaiian artist, I urge you to get into the space and please represent us, because if not, you're just gonna have some guy who's creating poi puppies, and kind of failing at them. So.
You'll definitely, Andrew. What is good contact information for you, so I can pop this up in the chat?
Yep.
You can do my email, which is Andrew at world WORL-ED.net. You can email me there.
Okay, Andrew, so as like a final thrust with this discussion, let's go into the advocacy space. So let's talk more about how Hawaii really is the only state with anti-crypto laws, and really how people should be, like, especially Hawaii residents, is so furious at that. And I'll give an example just to put things into context for people. In 2016 to 2017, I was reading up and getting really into the Ethereum technology, blockchain technology, and I felt like this would be a good place to invest in. And this is the same time when money markets, the professionals, they were Goldman Sachs, they were all saying, like, don't invest in crypto, it's a scam and things like that, which they have since changed their tune and become one of the largest investors in cryptocurrency. But 2016, 2017, Ethereum was just, starting to pump. And I remember it must have been around $5 to $10 when I started to, like, really wanted to get into investing into it. But as a Hawaii resident, I really couldn't. There were no exchanges that were allowing me to register for. And for those of you who don't know, you would register for a cryptocurrency exchange, and you kind of got to tie your bank account to it, funding sources, and that's when they kind of get you at your residency, right? So I was blocked from many, including Coinbase, because we have anti-cryptocurrency laws here in Hawaii. So when I finally found an exchange, and I typically go through Kraken for people who want to know. When I finally found an exchange that would accept me, you have to go through the tiered approval processes, right? So you have to provide all your identification, your passport information. They need to know that you're a real person in order for you to kind of progress through these spending, right? How much money you can invest in a particular coin. And so by the time I was able to get tier approval to be able to invest $1,000, Ethereum had pumped from $5 a piece to $150 a piece, right? And so if you're thinking of like the speed in which a person from Hawaii would be able to invest in cryptocurrency, we're greatly handicapped by that, right? So that's $1,000 buying at $5 a share, basically, versus $150 a share, right? And right now, at Ethereum's highest is around $5,000. So you're talking about that much more that you could have cashed out on, and that was really debilitating for people in Hawaii. And I don't think many Hawaii residents even realize like how terrible of that's imposed upon them, right? And so, in terms of advocacy, I think we really need to start advocating like to kind of throw these laws out, right? In order to really start to capitalize on this blockchain tech, this NFT space. What are your thoughts, Andrew?
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't understand this whole idea of just a select few having like having the full authority over us as adults, us as educated people, and especially with all the atrocities. I hate to bring up like how much us as Hawaiians have been suppressed in the past, but it's not an easy pill for us to swallow from everything that we've already been going through, and from what people in the past, from historical perspectives, what they've done to us, and then going forward to today, like seeing the same things. Is like, what makes you think that we should trust you now as opposed to everything else in the past? And like I know I brought a broader issue with Red Hill. It's the same thing. There's a lot of educated people over here, and especially with the advent of the internet, it's the old guard is gone. We have access to information. We can make these determinations for ourselves. We can compile evidence, empirical evidence and data, and make our decisions for ourselves. And especially when it comes to, our hard-earned money and how we want to invest and what kind of risks we want to take. Because, when we look at, exactly what's happening, with the Federal Reserve and how they're tapering spending right now. It's almost like they're forcing us into another recession, and they're gonna do what they know how to do. And I think there's, like I said, there's so much more information and data to compile, and with how sophisticated computers are getting this day, yeah, I just feel like we definitely need to be more into these conversations, and standing up for our own rights. And yeah, absolutely.
Okay, mahalo, Andrew. If anybody has any questions out there, please feel free to pop it in chat.
Yeah, I can't see them in the chat, so let me know.
Yep, I'll let you know. But
I think
otherwise,
we're out of time. Yeah.
We still have some time for Q&A, Andrew. But what do you think? They got enough info for now?
Yeah, I think there's plenty. And if people are looking at this from like an investment standpoint, because I know like on here it said crypto and Hawaii, things into perspective, and there's just so many things that are just unprecedented today. Just the game has changed. The same. I feel like the rules don't apply, and we're seeing we're seeing a movement that we have not seen in the past, and I think it's because of the internet, because of the information that we have out there, that we can't just look at, like I said, historical statistics and apply that forward to today. But if say if we do, and we're looking at cryptocurrency in terms of an investment, like if we look at like total market capitalization of like the bond market, I feel like it's I think the number was at almost 300 trillion, and if something like Bitcoin is structured and designed to act like the gold of today, if we look at the market capitalization of gold that exists, that's hasn't been mined, the surface gold that's out there, I believe it's anywhere from like 9 to 13 trillion. And if you look at the market capitalization of Bitcoin right now, or I'm sorry, actually all cryptocurrencies, it's at $3 trillion. So you just kind of compare the two to just understand how early we are. If cryptocurrency is supposed to be what gold is because it's based off of scarcity, from $3 trillion where it is now, is a lot of room to grow into exactly where gold is at, with its 9 to 15 trillion dollars. But like I said, it's also a risk too, right? Because when we look at cryptocurrencies in itself, gold is absolutely a finite resource. But cryptocurrencies, it's a protocol. I mean, like, unless you're kind of going from the perspective of like we're mining, microchips or something like that, then yeah, we could see it, or boron and whatnot. Then we could perceive it as as a finite resource. But if we're just looking at it from the blockchain protocol, and and with all of these different chains that are popping up, whether it's like Dogecoin and Shiba coin and all these other tokens that even sit on the Ethereum blockchain, that interoperability of all of those coins and tokens actually take away the scarcity of Bitcoin. And then it's something that we have to think as investors, like, is this thing actually going to work as a gold standard? I think my outlook on this is, I'm kind of like center of the road. I'm always open to, the newest information that's coming in. But, I think the standard for blockchain and for blockchain protocol is here to stay. That is the utility. Whether it's going to become, money, which I think it potentially actually can. I think it's gonna change the way we perceive money, or how we look at money, because it's gonna be multi-dimensional. Just like we're looking at these NFTs, they're art, they're money, they're something that we can exchange multiple times. There's just so many different layers that are on top of these things as an emerging technology, that we need more people, and especially people who are close to us here in the islands, to start having more of these conversations. And I know the thinkers are definitely out there, and I bet there's a bunch of them that are in this chat listening in, just to try to pick up on something else that they haven't heard. But we definitely need those champions here in the islands more than ever.
Andrew, mahalo you for sharing all your knowledge, your wisdom, your mana'o with us. And
Yeah, for sure.
thank you everyone too for joining us in this conversation. And if you have any questions, again, please toss it up in the chat. And if not, feel free to reach out to Andrew at WORL-ED.net. Do pick his brain, get his Discord, follow him on Discord, follow him on Twitter. He's got a lot more to share for sure. We were limited by technology today, but get him on another day and get your mind blown. And I'm looking forward to seeing more Hawaiian-based NFTs, Hawaiian NFTs out there. And
Yep.
for all of those who are not who are not residents of Hawaii, you have an advantage. Please take advantage of your out-of-state residency.
Yeah, for sure.
Dominate and hook us up, get us in on that action. So mahalo to all of you. Thank you. And mahalo, Andrew.
Yeah, models are. Thank you for coming in here. It would have been a mess without you. I mean, it was still kind of a mess, but and thank you to everybody else out there for tolerating us. I feel so bad, but I just appreciate you guys being here, and I wish we could converse with you in real time. But let's save that for another time. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Mahalo, Kako.
Okay. Check you guys later. Bye.
Catch you later.